Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, June 19th. Welcome back to another episode of the Artist Pro Show with me, your host, Hashem Dahoud, also known as Rizik. Welcome. It is a holiday here in the United States of America. Hopefully, those who are watching from the United States have had a day off to catch up, relax, reflect on the holiday and whatnot. But this is another Monday, and this is the show. Welcome back. I got the usual folks in the building. Fashionista, what's up? Oliver Blue, good to see you again, my friend. In terms of music, we've got music today from a Fashionista, of course, who's always got something for us. Oliver Blue, you got anything for us today? Let me know. Jeff Turner, Saison is in the building. Good to have you here as well. Give us something too while you're at it. Why not? Submit. I'm going to try to keep something going with myself of like, I want to submit something every single week just to kind of keep that pot stirred a little bit, to get your feedback too, you guys. But I feel like I'm going to start treating this show, and hopefully you guys treat it as a form of accountability, a form of having some group of other fellow collaborators, artists, musicians to report back to you with your findings of the world, not just music. And that's something I'd also love to shift for this show as well too. You guys have constantly been sharing your music, which is, by the way, I got to say, been really enjoyable because I've been hearing the evolution in all your music, and I'm starting to really get a good feel for your musical tastes and your own musical abilities, because hearing just one like snippet from someone, I mean, come on, it's not exactly the best way to learn the totality of who they are creatively. But that's what this show is aiming to do. As artists create and move forward, so does the show. And I definitely do want to keep it moving too. Oliver Blue says he's got to duck out early this week. It's all good. It is a holiday. This might end up being another holiday episode too. That being said, I did have a little thing I wanted to bring up to you all today that does speak about what we've discussed previously a bit before too. You guys have always heard me talk about the idea of your tastes and your skills and kind of the gap between the two, something that's been kind of discussed a lot. But I was sent a podcast today by someone named Mel Robbins, who talks about something that's spoken at the USC School of Music that does, again, it's not necessarily groundbreaking stuff here, but it's always good to reframe these concepts and ideas. I'll put a link in the chat to the actual podcast if you want to listen to it. But it talks about 3 specific steps in terms of, actually, this can be applied to anything, but I feel it's very applicable towards creative endeavors, specifically music. The 3 steps simply go as this. There is the emulation step, there is the assimilation step, and then there's the innovation step. And this is nothing new for those who've gone down any kind of creative journey of finding their voice. The first step is obvious in that you find your heroes and you try to emulate them in any way possible. And, it's important to remember that you shouldn't just find your musical heroes per se. Anyone that you want to pull a little from this person, a little from this person, a little from this person, you kind of make a whole congregation and amalgamation of all the different things you like about these people. And then from there, you research the hell out of them and research who they are, what they've done, how they got a certain sound, and then you emulate. The second step of assimilation is then putting in the work, the 10,000 hours as they kind of call it. It's as simple as, you have a North Star. That's the whole concept of this, what her podcast was about, but this idea of a North Star. You have an idea of where you want to go, and you work towards it. And if you don't know exactly what your voice is per se, but you will at least have a benchmark of people and artists and creatives that you like and respect and admire, right? So you put in the time to work towards at least getting to that point. And then the third step, which I'm currently in right now, and I got out of the first step, very quickly, actually, is the innovation stage, which, okay, you've taken those things as far as you can. Now, what is your unique contribution? What are you going to be doing uniquely and differently than the others have not done? Not to say, again, you want to be different than them just to be different, but because you are doing something uniquely different, because that's just who you are. When I started my Rizik project early, I was listening to primarily one type of genre at the time, neoclassical piano kind of music, hence the piano over there. And I just began emulating artists that I really like in that space. And it wasn't hard for me to do that, frankly. I've always been dabbling in piano and keyboard instruments since I was a kid. So to emulate what my ear has, I like to think I have a very good ear for repetition and replication. I tend to do good impressions, that kind of thing. I can remember like things pretty quickly and then spit them back out to you. I don't know. I just happen to have an ear for that kind of stuff. So the emulation phase for me was relatively simple because it's only a single instrument and it's easy to play back for me. But I quickly, very, very quickly fell into that phase where you're like, all right, I'll never really be them. I don't think I'll ever really be as good as them per se in terms of who they became to be. So I've kind of hunkered down in the assimilation phase now. But now I recently, as of I think last weekend, really hit the innovation stage. Like, okay, I kind of know where I've been as a drummer. I kind of know where I've been as a piano player. I kind of know where I've been as an electronic artist. Now I've kind of built this little softball of here's my chance to innovate now. And I think I know what to do. And I think I know where this is going to be going. And it's just part of my process and who I am. A part of it includes bringing live drumming to the forefront while still also incorporating piano instrumentals. And how do I also have an electronic like club sound? What a challenge. It's a weird challenge because live drums and club sounds don't go together very well. I tried simply playing like live drums over like electronic music beats and it just doesn't work. But what I experimented with was more so a process this weekend. I took songs that I made with an electronic intention, drum machine, very computer synthesized intention, and then I stripped the drum parts, and then I took it to my rehearsal space where my live drums are. Obviously, they're not in this room. And I began playing, and I realized quickly, okay, this isn't going to be as simple as just playing live drums and removing the drum track like I would track a rock and roll song or a metal song or a country song or a pop song. It ain't gonna be that simple. But I definitely found little spurts of inspiration, little moments. And being a drummer first and foremost, and of all the instruments I play, it's like the clear leader in terms of like my proficiency. It became obvious to me like this needs to be incorporated. In fact, everything needs to be incorporated into Rizik was my big epiphany over the weekend, really too. Like I've got my music, the music that I make as an artist. I got the drumming. I got this show. Even this show is kind of a hybrid between Hisham, the music marketing guy that I want to say I used to be because I've really committed lately and I've leaned into just the music creatively solely. And it's a hybrid between that world and the music world that I'm actually in creatively. And I think everything kind of needs to fit under one umbrella. And if I'm going to go all in on something, I think it's going to be the Rizik brand. So now that I've incorporated drumming into it, I won't feel as insecure. I won't feel as insecure of like, oh, but what about the drums? So, but that was just my path, my road. I had to literally start off as a drummer playing in bands. I had to literally sell my drums, get rid of them completely, stop playing drums for a period of time to play piano and learn how to play piano and really become an instrumentalist, behind the keyboards. And then I had to stop being in bands to focus on just electronic music production. And I kind of, all of those kind of had a phase, and I'm still in various pockets of all of those things. But I feel like as a individual artist, now my challenge is how do I bring all of that stuff together and do so cohesively in a way that's interesting, not just for the audience, but for really for me. How can I keep this interesting? And how can I break new ground? How can I do something that I don't think has been done before or done quite well? That's kind of my challenge. Can I make it something where I can look back in the room or like watch with a video and be like, yeah, that's good. That's dope. Because I'm very judgmental. I think all of us as artists are very judgmental. Like when we go check out other different artists and we go to different shows. I don't know. I'm always sitting there and I'm always just like, oh, that's not that good. Or fuck, that's really good. Like we're always kind of constantly I am anyway, kind of constantly comparing myself. So my goal simply is to get it to a point where I could literally remove myself and put myself in the room watching myself and be like, yeah, that's good. That's good to meet my standard. At the very least, that's all I want. Just be like, yeah, that's good. That's undeniably good. And I don't know where it's going, but the process of creating music from an electronic standpoint and then adding what would I do as the rock drummer do on top of this, and then bringing it back to this room as a producer, playing all the roles. And then, of course, how do I incorporate playing piano? Because I still have so many instrumental piano pieces that I've not released that I'm just waiting to incorporate into a broader artistic thing to say. you know? So that's where I've been. That's where I've been. I've been in that emulation phase. I think we all start there. We have to, you know. It's because you have taste. And then the assimilation, which is just constantly getting the skills together. And by the way, even within all these phases, sometimes they don't have to be so linear. Sometimes there's cycles within, there's phases within phases, you know. But my belief is that every real artist or every true, you know, person who's trying to express something unique strives for the innovation phase at some point, you know, because hopefully you don't enjoy or you lose your contentness sounding like the people you're emulating. I did very quickly. I released music for like a year and a half straight. It served me very well. And then I just stopped. I just stopped because the music I was hitting a wall of like, this just sounds like everyone else. It's boring. Why would I waste your time? If I don't even take my time, I'm not bothered to take my time to make something that I think is just like meh. So I've entered a phase now where again I'm trying to bring them all together, and I got a piece of music I can share with you guys. That's I think the very start of what this process is looking like. Um, I still also just kind of make whatever comes out. I don't really have an intention of like I'm gonna make this thing today. I just kind of make whatever comes out, man. So I'll share that track with y'all. I did want to also just share those three stages. Hopefully that gives you a little more clarity as to where your North Star can come from: emulation, assimilation, and of course, innovation. Innovation is the one I hope everyone gets to because it's almost like the final boss. That's where I'm at right now. But it's also, I gotta say, it's the most interesting place to be by far. Yeah, by far. Like the beginning phases of me being, you know, someone who used to draw when I was a kid, I used to trace all the time. And eventually got kind of bored of that. So I feel like we all kind of traced in the beginning a little bit. And then we just develop the skills to get better at tracing a little bit. Either we may or may not realize we're doing it. But the innovation isn't coming from necessarily, I have to be different than the people I'm emulating. I want to make that very clear. I don't believe that's the case. I have to be different than the people I'm emulating. I think it's more so, again, the example I gave you guys of myself is the innovation of myself. Like, okay, I have all these things. I have to innovate with all these pieces that are just kind of loosely floating around. And now it's my job to innovate with them and do something that I've never done before personally. And hopefully it's something that people haven't seen much of or done very well. But that's just my internalization of it. Fashionista says, I remember you about showing up and not only DM. Yes, indeed. I should remind you. Yeah, I'll talk about that. And yeah, Jeff Turner, I think between step 2 and 3. Yeah, again, it might be a transitional thing. I think I definitely was there. I think since I started this show, I was between 2 and 3. And then only, again, after a weekend of just a lot of experimentation, I think I'm in this number 3 now. So why don't we kick it off a little bit? I'll play a track that I'm working on right now, a little unreleased kind of stuff to give you guys also some more context here. I did send this to a singer that I can't quite talk about yet. And hopefully if all things work out, it'll be dope. This track does have temporary placeholder vocals. So I just went to Splice. I found a vocal loop and I chopped it up just to give the singer just a reference of like, hey, the chorus should come here, the verse should come here. I also sent her, and by the way, I suggest this for you guys too. If you want to work with singers, send an instrumental for sure, you know, so they can hear their own thing. But it helped me from a production standpoint to take a vocal loop and then use it as a placeholder and chop it up. It also might help the singer too. In fact, I played the instrumental version for a few people, and one person's feedback was, that all sounds kind of like intro. I mean, by the way, these are not music producers, just music listeners. And I'm like, well, of course it sounds like relatively bare because you have to leave room for vocals, right? And then once I incorporated these vocal loops, I let them listen to it again. Like, okay, this makes way more sense. It makes way more sense for me too. So if you plan on working with vocalists, I do recommend that you do go to Splice and then you just chop up some vocals and just have some placeholders. So instead of having a mental, this is the verse, this is the chorus, this is the pre-chorus, you know, it helps to have actual vocals there, even if they're just temped. And then I did also make a point to say, please don't listen to the one with vocals too much, because then you'll think that that's how you're supposed to sing it. In fact, she asked, like, do you want it close to the reference. And I was like, no, 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 do not go close to the reference. It's just there for structure purposes. That being said, why don't we go ahead and play the track? I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to pop up down here. Yeah, check it out, you guys. Hopefully this will be the start of something new I can do with y'all too. Just showcase the unfinished, the works in progress. Let me know what y'all think. Big hands up moment right here. I'm muted. There it is. Still needs plenty of work. You also might have heard there's no live drums in that. So there's my challenge. How do I incorporate some live drums? I had a few different ideas. Um, yeah, there's still plenty of mixed things that, yeah, this is by no means a final mix, final master. This is still definitely in its like production phase. But definitely that's like a relatively new sound for the Rizik brand, and I'm really excited to kind of explore what that looks like. It's got all the elements I love. Like I love that kind of like driving house beat. I think the BPM is like 107, I believe. 507. Yeah, I love a big hands up moment. I grew up listening to a lot of progressive trance back in the early 2000s, so I just love the epicness. I also just love epic music in general. I realized strings couldn't really fit in a few different places, so the Mellotron was used in a few different areas. I love the Diva synth as well, so that's there, definitely kind of keeping the whole vibe going. And yeah, the final section kind of has a big explosion, and then you start to hear a real snare drum at that point. And again, it's all drum machine over here, programmed drum machine, and obviously live keys and live synths and stuff like that. But my challenge, my innovation challenge is if I perform this live, when I perform this live, I don't want to be just behind this triggering different scenes in Ableton. Like that doesn't sound very fun to me. In the same way, when I was playing live piano as just a piano artist, it wasn't very fun for me. So I stopped. Playing drums never gets boring for me. So my challenge is how do I control a live music experience while also being behind a drum kit? And as a band member in different bands, I'm behind the kit all night. I'm just playing drums all night, and I'm starting to realize that maybe that's not necessarily what the first phase of this new Rizik is going to look like, because I have to do everything myself. Maybe phase 2 or 3 will be Rizik as a live band, and then I can kind of kick it behind the drums more often. But for now, I have to do all the things. In fact, the live setup I have, if you want to indulge me with real quick with my vision, is kind of actually what you guys are seeing right now in front of you, but a little different. Facing the stage, you would have a live piano, perpendicular to the audience. You'd have a live electronic setup also perpendicular to the audience. So you can kind of see me play with drum machines and turn knobs and shit. And then right in the front, right in the middle, you would have a live drum set, which is, I really feel, my MVP instrument, And plus, if you're one guy up here, it's kind of hard for people to like to move and feel things. But when you're playing drums right in front of them, like how do you not like get into that? I play drums. I'm not the most technical drummer per se, but I know my strengths. And one of my strengths is, well, I have a lot of strength. That, like when I play drums, I play like an absolute caveman and I hit really hard. And I want that to reverberate. And it is my challenge to make a live music setup that this whole thing translates. And in the middle of my set, I'm not going to be a typical like electronic music set where it's just like bangers all night. Like I'm going to ask the audience to come down with me, and then I'll move to the piano and I'll play something very emotional, very soft, very gentle. And then it's my job to tweak this shit to move it back up and then get behind the drums. So just like a lot of my favorite bands, they come up and down, they come up and down. That's a part that I'd like to emulate. The up and down, the unexpected nature of things, the calm, the heaviness. One of my favorite bands, Opeth, right there. They go from death metal growling to some of the most beautiful acoustic singing you've ever heard in your life, and hearing them always makes me want to listen to music, and make music. So that's my challenge. That's my innovation. Hopefully you guys dug that. And yeah, maybe we'll keep this a regular thing too. I can hold myself accountable to submit music for you guys too. While we listen to yours. On that note, let's hit Fashionista. Let's see what you got for us today. This track is called Another Day in Paradise Flip. Word. Let's see. Let's pull it up. Shout out to Fashionista. Shout out to all y'all for coming every single Monday. I know who you all are. I know who you all are. I appreciate you guys. Gonna pull up the share. Just to make sure the audio was good for y'all. SoundCloud. Remember how a couple weeks ago SoundCloud sucked? Is SoundCloud good for y'all? Just let me know in the chat if the audio came in clear. While I pull up. I'm actually very interested to hear this one. All right, Fashionista, you're up. Let's see what you got. I love how it's so just aggressive. I love how it's so like, let me like mess with your brain right here, especially. Yeah, dude, you're gonna need a visual element to this for I think, I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me, like, is this something that you would just first of all, you can't even see me, I just realized. Is this something that you guys would just kind of put on, in the car and kind of jam to and vibe to? I feel like this music is built for an experience of some kind. I feel like there's definitely something here. I love the idea of kind of warming us up to it. Dude, you need to work with a visual guy, I'm telling you. Like someone who can absolutely understand like the manic vision behind this project. I feel like listening to this music, it does put images in my brain, but I feel like there's an opportunity to work with a visual person who can really add some dimension to this because on its own, I mean, if I sent someone like, "Hey, check out my friend's new song," and they heard that, like, "Oh, cool." But I feel like if you had a visual element to this, it would make so much more sense. Particularly if you did something that really kind of, I don't know, was controversial. I think there's an element here to be controversial too. Yeah, definitely something to consider. So also fashionista discuss. I remember he reminded me when it comes to reaching out to different people. People tend to DM people a lot for various things that they're looking for. That's one thing to discuss. Like it's a standard option, but like especially when trying to reach someone who's relatively prolific or busy, DMs, you'll get lost in the DMs really quickly. Plus, DMs just kind of feels like an invasion of personal space to some people. It just does. Another option is to get on Twitter and find people who you're looking to connect with and connect there too. And the reason why, and I'm not just saying that of like another platform for you to think about and get on. More so because of all the different social media accounts that exist for any particular public personality, music artist, whatever. Of all of them that might be managed by themselves, Twitter is the one. This is the most likely one for sure. It actually might be them, not like an assistant or a social media manager. Not to mention when you reach out to people on Twitter, it's public and everyone can see it. Whereas if you get in the DMs, you might just get lost there completely. I've noticed you've been like tagging me a lot and sending me stuff on WhatsApp, and I obviously I'm cool with this because I know you and I know you're in this chat with us and you're in this whole Artist Pro show. But for a lot of people, that's like an invasion of their personal space. You got to kind of know where their boundaries are. Email is always preferred if you're going to reach out to someone, getting their email address and just reaching out there because email is more like on their time. Email is typically like where they work, where they hang out when they're in work mode. Whereas if you WhatsApp them or even DM them, it's like, this is my personal time now. I'm kind of here either just scrolling, hanging out, whatever it might be, but this is like my personal life. But I would recommend email and then Twitter as the primary two. You could do LinkedIn if you want to kind of take the more corporate approach, I guess, too. But try to avoid those personal spaces like the WhatsApps and whatnot until you really get to know the person. Even after you've met the person, still avoid it. Keep it professional. Keep it hanging out in the emails and on Twitter is another great way to kind of start there too. And other ways that if you are going to tag them in things, another common thing people do is they just tag you in their video, hoping that you'd see it. No one's going to fucking watch that, dude. No one. But if you tag them in a video that features some of their content, but done in a different way, now they'll actually pay attention. So rather than, doing a flip on Phil Collins, fashionista, consider maybe doing a flip on an artist that's slightly ahead of you. Someone who's like known, but not hugely known. Get their attention by doing a flip of their music, just so at least you can get like a repost or something like that. But I want to say before you do that, you got to have a visual thing there because they're going to reshare it. And if all they see is just like, I don't know, a DAW, it's boring, but like, what is the visual element that you can really freak them out with? And it'd be kind of cooler if you take the artist that you're flipping and you incorporate a visual element from them and you do something with that, because that's something you have to ask yourself, like, why would someone share this? Why would someone repost this? Well, keep that in mind as you strive to make content. But good stuff. Once again, let's listen to Oliver Blue. Let's see what you got for us today. This might be the last one for today, by the way. A little beat from 2021, waiting on vocals from an artist to make this more than just a fun little beat. Yo, Oliver Blue, where's our track? Where's the track we're working on? Yep, dude. Send me some tracks. Send me something. I'm down to spit back a collab at you. All right. We got this one called Rough from Oliver Blue. Let's pull it up. What the hell?
Blue boy.
You had to do it, huh? You just had to do it. That was unique in the sense that you went from two very different vibes, obviously. Um, Obviously, some context here would be cool. This would be a great track for like a collab if you brought together a singer and obviously like a hip hop artist. But here's what maybe the missed opportunity would might be here is if you go back here. I love that little part where you slow the tempo down. It sounds like two different songs altogether, obviously. Like that's the main feedback there. Like I wonder if there's an element that you could have taken like the bump 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 and thrown it into like the hip hop trap beat. You know, just take that same thing or take like the guitar that would be like normal and then completely fuck with it sound design wise and make it into like a hip hop lead of some kind. And in the same way how we heard your tempo slow down, imagine if we heard like a guitar in real time turn into a synth, you know, maybe throw it into Serum or something, throw the guitar sample into Serum and just like in real time through automation, just like fuck with filters, cutoff, attacks, LFOs, and all of a sudden it turns into a synth. That'd be dope. Yo, that'd be dope. If you took the actual guitar in real time, fuck with it. You know, that'd be sick. He used a guitar from the first section. There you go. I guess what's missing from my ear was maybe just hearing that transformation. Literally, in the same way how you slowed the tempo down. Imagine if we took that guitar while the tempo was slowing down, we heard the guitar turn into the synth. That's different. That'd be cool. Producers would be like, bro, that's sick. You use the guitar sample and you into a synth. But like the average person would be like, they sound like two different songs. But if we heard it change or transform, now we're talking. That'd be sick. Oliver Blue, I will say though, I do love the fact that every time you send in music, I never know what to expect. I do love that. You always got something different, a different kind of vibe. Working with James Marangona, a word up. Yeah, I mean, send me a song that you want me to get on, dude. Whenever you're ready, I got time. That's gonna, I think, do it for today's stream, you guys. It's I don't know if you can tell from my voice. I've had a rough weekend in a couple of ways, so I don't quite have it in me today. And I know it's a holiday for some folks, and some folks are even out of town and stuff. So we will be back next week. And yeah, this show is continuing to evolve as you're seeing, and maybe I will continue bringing on my own music and maybe bringing on some guests at some point too. A lot of change is coming. A lot of change is coming in my life personally. So we're gonna see how that gets incorporated into the stream. Otherwise, I want to thank the usual heads who came today for another show on here on a Monday for Artist Pro. Send me your stuff the same way. I can queue them up for next week, by the way. If you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to hit me up on Instagram. It's just at my name, at Hisham Dahoud. Or if you want to start hitting me up at the Rizik channel, I'm going to spend a bit more time there too. So it's going to be at Rizik Music if you want to check that out too. A great way to support the show is throw a donation. If you don't want to throw a donation or don't have the funds, all understood. Just try to bring a friend or two to the next show. Otherwise, have a great week, you guys. Happy music making. Be safe out there. And I'll check you all on the next stream.